All right, what's up, guys? We got a little bit of a spoiler alert here for you. I really recommend watching this morning's game, as it was one of the craziest and most bizarre games I've ever played. I would recommend going back and watching that before you watch this video if you can. I know that some of these videos are a little bit long, but it'll help make a little bit more sense out of what exactly I'm talking about here. The story of this video is Snuffy Stirnweiss and the insanity that is surrounding how he's been playing in this season. I'm going to go back to my Diamond Mine view, so I'll have myself right here in the bottom left corner. Snuffy Stirnweiss is playing for the Yankees. He kind of has to, right? If we go look at the Yankees lineup, we go look at their defense, like Stirnweiss is the only one who can play second base, right? And I assume that in real life he was playing second base as well. He has a whole bunch of starts. We're going to look at his statistics here. I apologize as usual. This is really small. This is Diamond Mine Baseball. There's like nothing I can do about making this bigger. I would love it if this game would like enter the modern era, but it's likely not going to happen. Diamond Mine Baseball was made actually in the mid-'80s, and it's clear when you do research into it, as I have publicly in the past, as you know, when you do research and look at like the demo versions, that not a lot has changed since then. And so I do not anticipate, especially since Tom Tippett does not work with the company, that we're going to see major changes, including things like, I don't know, defensive rating, what is this, tables that you can actually read. So sorry about that. It's going to be difficult. We're going to look here at Stirnweiss and at his numbers, right? I'm going to have to read these to you because it's a video for ants, basically. So apologies. Stirnweiss is a player I had never heard of before this replay, another guy who's like this. It's great to have these players you've never heard of. It's kind of what makes these replays fun. Stirnweiss in real life in 1949 played in 70 games. He's playing because Jerry Coleman is out. I don't know what Coleman's thing is. I'm assuming he's injured. Stirnweiss played in 70 games, had 157 at-bats in real life, and he had 190 plate appearances. For some reason, Diamond Mine puts the plate appearances over on the secondary hitting page, even though that would be a primary hitting statistic. But, I mean, who am I to question a game that was made in, like, 1986? Stirnweiss started in 36 games in real life. So just so you know, he was starting as a second baseman. This isn't me taking like crazy managerial, crazy, licenses to do whatever I want. Though I do reserve the right to do whatever I want, of course. The interesting thing about Stirnweiss here, the thing that really surprises me is the way that he's been playing in Diamond Mine. I've only had him play in 6 games. He's had a grand total of 10 at-bats, right? And he's had 21 plate appearances. But check out the key numbers. So in real life, Stirnweiss walked, 29 times. And remember, that was 190 plate appearances. And he struck out 20 times in the 190 plate appearances. So it's about 50, of those plate appearances, either strikeouts or walks. Of the 190, that's about 25%, right? I mean, that's a pretty high total. Talk about 3 true outcomes, right? That's a lot, right? But I mean, that's not like insane, right? He would be pretty much, in line with what players do today. He might actually be kind of on the low side of the 3 true outcome, the way people play today. This isn't Ryan Schimpf. This isn't Joey Gallo. All you do is hit home runs. In fact, Stirnweiss did not hit a home run in real life. Of course, I probably jinxed it for him. Just watch next Yankees game, he'll hit a home run, and I'm going to be eating crow. Now, in the replay, he has had, as I said, 10 at-bats, 21 plate appearances now. He has walked 9 times, and then he struck out 4 times, right? So over 50% of the time, we're seeing walks and strikeouts. He walked in. So in this game, what he did is he walked 3 times, and then he struck out twice. He had, I think it was the game before this one, if I remember right, where he walked like every single time he came up. That's the way that he's been. He's just been up there like a total walking machine. I don't understand why. Why is this happening? Right? What is it, a lefty-righty thing? Well, let's look at this. He had 84 at-bats against righties, 73 against lefties. Against lefties, he walked 14 times. Against righties, he walked 15 times. Right? I mean, this isn't the lefty-righty thing at all. Right? What about the strikeouts, right? Because, I mean, he had, 20 strikeouts in real life. He has 4 already in, like I say, it's, 21 plate appearances versus 190. So he's striking out quite a bit as well. Well, his real life strikeouts, 4 came against lefties, 16 against righties. Now that will look like, okay, well, maybe he did have some problems with righties, but I mean, I'm not going to do the math here for you, just doing this in my head, I'm telling you that's not going to end up being significant. It's not, right? It might be 4 times the number of strikeouts, right? but you're dealing with a really, really small sampled size, right? And when you adjust not for at-bats, but for plate appearances, what you're going to see, because he's going to face righties more than lefties, it's baseball. He's starting every game. There's no backup. We established that. When he's going to be playing that frequently, yeah, you're going to get higher raw numbers against righties, but if you look at the percentage of plate appearances that are strikeouts, which Diamond Mind won't tell me about, it's going to be a little bit more in line. So I don't know what's happening. All I can say about this and the strange fact that this guy has walked 8 times against 6 at-bats against righties, right? All I can say about this is that it's got something to do with the randomization, and random stuff happens. Now, this is the reason why I want to talk about this, because this goes to something that is actually very important for those of us who play these games, right? Which is that random events do happen in these games. They do. And the way that these games are set up is so that, it's not necessarily one guy is playing better than the pitcher or whatever. Sometimes it's just that this is the way that the random numbers are working. You could argue that that happens in real life. We know that there are guys who are outliers, but it's kind of hard to say whether it's really a random event as opposed to the guy actually doing it. That's a much more complicated subject. But when it comes to trying to model baseball or soccer or anything in a simulator, you really have to have some sort of randomization. If you don't have randomization, it's going to be really boring and the same person is going to win every time. Like playing chess, if you have an 800 ELO against a 1600 Grandmaster, right? It's like me playing chess against my kids. My sons are so good at it, I don't even play anymore because they'll wipe the floor with me. So that's the thing, right? You need randomization to turn it into a game again, right? What you have to realize is that we as human beings are kind of hardwired to see patterns where there are not necessarily patterns. In this case, 21 plate appearances is not a whole lot. And so even though it feels like this guy's walking every time up, it's not necessarily a sign that there's something broken with the game or that he's programmed incorrectly or whatever. It's just random chance. It's possible that he's walking a lot because he's played these games against the Philadelphia Athletics, and it just so happens that the Athletics pitchers walk a lot of guys, and for whatever reason, he was the winner of the base on balls lottery, right? This is one of the things that we have to keep in mind. Now, we talked before about managing players who are in slumps, because slumps are also dictated by random chance, right? We've talked about that before, and I know that people have said, oh, well, I'll just leave the guy in the lineup, and I'm sure that because of how he's carded, it will even out in the end. I'm telling you, that's not a realistic way to manage. It's not. You need to act like you're the manager, and at some point in time, if you've got a guy who's hitting 125, 120, 115, he's not hitting the ball at all, you've got to put him on the bench and bring in the substitute if you're making your own lineups. You really have to do it. You have to play to the replay that you're getting, not playing to some sort of expectation. He's probably not going to match his offensive performance in real life unless he actually was like a 150 hit or whatever, unless you actually have Mario Mendoza. But if you're going to play a replay and you're going to talk about accuracy and the thing that is accurate in a replay, you really need to manage accurately and do what the real life manager would have done. There's no way, as I'm playing in my other replay in 1908, there's no way that Wade Conroy is going to stay in the New York Highlander lineup. He's hitting after yesterday's game. He's hitting like 113, right? There's no way they're going to leave him in hitting eighth and, making, empty outs. I mean, even in 1908, they wouldn't do that. I know that because I've gone back and looked at the box scores, right? So we're going to have, I think it's George Moriarty who's going to start for him. The reason why is because Moriarty comes up and gets base hits. He's hitting like 330. Right? He hasn't had that many at-bats because he hasn't been starting, but we make the change now, right? The reason why we do this and the reason why we allow ourselves to be flexible is because we want to manage realistically. That's the whole idea. The stats might be on, they might be off. Maybe a guy doesn't play as much because he really sucked when we went out there, right? Maybe he's not going to hit his total or whatever. It's fine. The important thing is to manage and to play the game in a way that's realistic and not necessarily just to say, well, something will happen, this will come out in the wash in the end, and you'll end up waiting forever. The truth is, and this is the thing that gets to us, that when you're dealing with randomization, the guy has just as much of a chance to get a hit in the next game as he did in the last game, right? Every at-bat, it gives him the same potential. There's no game that's made differently, with the exception of somebody told me, I think it's History Maker Baseball, that has hot and cold streaks. I'm not playing that here. These other games do not have hot and cold streaks. This one doesn't have clutch turned on or anything like that. And so because of that, you have to realize that the randomization, the random chance is always the same. Nobody is due. Nobody is certainly going to do better because, of whatever. This is the reason why I don't play with real life lineups on, and this is the reason why I say that you need to manage realistically and really put yourself in the shoes of the manager. Your replay will thank you for it, and you'll have a much better experience than if you decide that, well, I'm going to start this guy anyway, even though he's playing horribly, right? It's not going to be the same. And if you have real life lineups turned on and you're looking at the same lineup and you're like, dude, this guy hitting leadoff just can't get on base, something must be wrong, you're going to feel frustrated. Don't feel frustrated. Take control of your replay yourself and be the manager. Anyway, there you go. There's my public service announcement for you, I guess. I'll talk with you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.